What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's pandemic update for Friday, May 19th, 2023. Hopefully everyone's staying safe, and if you had to take a COVID test, hopefully you tested negative. Alright, normally you would see on Fridays the variant proportion update. Can't do that this week. CDC is now every other week, so I had a backup idea. I thought, well, let's just do an international one with data from our world and data. They have yet to update this week as well. I'm guessing they are going every other week as well. So no variant proportion update. If we do get something, whether it be international or wherever, hey, we'll do a video on it. But there will be something on the variant front later in this video when we get to the end of the news proportion. Something about a new variant, so stay tuned for that. Alright, India logs another 865 new COVID cases, and they had 4 deaths in the last 24 hours. Alright, how about this? While everywhere else is ending a pandemic emergency, stopping the frequency of data reporting, this happens in Australia. Hundreds of students return to remote learning and mask amid COVID outbreak. This is in Sydney, Australia. That's right. Not only are they going remote learning, but if they do come back to the classroom, masks are going to be required for several days because of increasing COVID cases. Alright, now we have this, and this is not good news at all because, again, this is Australia. This has to do with flu, and whenever things are bad for the flu there, it's a terrible indicator of what could come here in the fall, and last year that really was the case. We had that early rapid rise of RSV and flu cases, which was really bad. It peaked early, but it was pretty fierce and bad. Thousands of cases of horrendous flu strain emerged. The number of cases of brutal flu strain already 100 times higher than last year, with warnings of how tough winter will be. And check this out. There have already been over 40,000 cases of laboratory-proven influenza so far in 2023 in Australia. 8,173 cases diagnosed in the first half of May alone. So this is not good. If you want to read more about this, I'll have this tweeted out as well if I haven't done so already. Alright, moving on to our next story. We're just going to read the headline here. This is not a good headline. 15 million excess deaths worldwide were caused by COVID over 2 years, says the WHO. So what that means is 15 million excess deaths not reported as COVID, whatever they could be, are being said that, yeah, they were likely COVID. So, yeah, it wasn't so mild after all. Alright, now we come to this. Laguna Honda, I hope I'm saying that correctly, faces COVID outbreak amid looming patient transfer deadline. This is in San Francisco, California. It sounds as if they're having a massive outbreak there that is getting worse, right as here in the United States we have ended the pandemic emergency. But yet we still see things like this. It's just totally ridiculous. It says here, COVID cases were generally mild and many were asymptomatic and identified due to Laguna Honda's proactive testing of entire units until no new cases are identified for 14 days. So they actually do big-time testing. Why can't we have data published more frequently? It's totally ridiculous here. The largest resident outbreak in 2023 peaked in April at 79 cases. As of May 15th, there were 10 residents with active cases, signaling a significant downward trend. So they are seeing a downward trend, but they're still seeing cases. So the pandemic's not over. Moving on to this. CDC releases new data on strokes widening disparities since COVID-19. We're not going to read all this, but let's just go down here. There was something that I wanted to show you in this, and that is that from early 2020 to 2021, stroke deaths increased among all racial and ethnical groups, but at rates that were higher for minority populations. And basically what this is signaling is, since coronavirus started, not the vaccines. Some people are going to say, oh, it's the vaccine. No. See, 2020 to 2021. We didn't have vaccines in 2020. So because of coronavirus itself, the virus, stroke deaths did, in fact, increase from what they were in 2019. Moving on to our next story. This is moving on to H5N1. Nottinghamshire, Australia once again, issues a bird flu warning after gulls were found infected. People are urged not to touch sick or dead birds. they find in the area, and dog owners are asked to keep their pets away from them. Alrighty, we do have some deaths to report on today in celebrities. Water skiing star Mickey Geller died suddenly at 18 years old. He is a ULL national champion, and there is no cause of death that has been released on this one yet. Andy Rourke, who is the bassist for Dismiss and Morrissey, has died at 59 years old. Andy Rourke, whose creative bass parts played a crucial role in shaping the sound of the Smiths, who later contributed heavily to Morrissey's early solo career after the band split, has died at age 59 at New York's Memorial Sloan Kettering Hospital. And I don't believe here it says what his cause of death was. At least I have not seen it yet. And that seems to be the case with most of these deaths as of lately. And we do have one more death to report on as well. All-time great running back Jim Brown has died at 87. I believe he was also an activist as well. And it says from his wife here, Monique announced Brown's death in an Instagram post on Friday afternoon. She said Brown passed away peacefully on Thursday night in their home. And yep, it does say here to the world he was an activist and, of course, a star football player. Alright, moving on to this. WHO states COVID-19 boosters should focus on protection from XBB variants. Okay, that's good, but what about new variants that come down the line? I said new variants? Wow, down the line? No, there already is one. Here you go. Thailand detects FU.1 subvariant, 50% more transmissible than XBB116. I've been seeing bits and pieces about FU variant here and there on Twitter. I have refrained from talking about it here on the channel till we actually learn more about it. And here you go. We're learning a little bit more about it now. Let's read some of this. Thailand's Center for Medical Genomics has reported a single case of COVID-19 subvariant known as FU.1 or XBB.1.16.1.1. Ooh, say that 3 times fast. Which is said to be 50% more transmissible than XBB116. The Omicron variant continues to mutate into new subvariants despite a decrease in global COVID cases. Well, no, there's a decrease in global COVID cases because reporting has been less frequent, less people are getting tested, all that horrible, horrible stuff that's happening right now. Currently, the dominant Omicron subvariants are XBB.1.5, XBB.116, and 191 in Thailand. So this is something we'll have to watch. I don't know how they came up with the fact that it's 50% more transmissible, because it did say here has reported a single case. So don't know how they know it's more transmissible, but the point is we are already moving on from XBB, and there's already other letters such as FU starting to pop up. And don't ask me why they named it FU. I don't know. This is a family channel, but I don't get to decide what the name of the variants are going to be. They just randomly name them. Alright, moving on to this. Walgreens. We had Walgreens this week. It's 25.4% positivity nationally. This day in pandemic history, we do have one thing for today. And ACIP recommends Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine boosters for everyone ages 5 through 11 years old to be given at least 5 months after the primary vaccination series. And just to note, this was back in 2022. ACIP also recommends everyone ages 12 and older who is immunocompromised, and those ages 50 years and older should have received a second booster dose at least 4 months after their first to prevent severe disease, hospitalization, and death. So again, that was back on May 19th of 2022 that happened. We'll see if we have more COVID pandemic history tomorrow. Moving on to wastewater. We do have a little bit of an update on wastewater, and that is that there was a national, the 4 regions of national. The Midwest one is rapidly dropping on this. The other 2, you got the Northeast, and then you also have the South region. They're somewhat flat, and then the big one in the West, that's flat as well. But I'm also seeing other data that suggests otherwise. So we'll see what happens with their next update on this, as it's possible we may start seeing some places rise relatively soon, and we'll have a full-scale wastewater update on Sunday like we normally do. Taking a look at, well, last week's variant proportions, just so you know, XBB115 is still 64%, and XBB 2.3 is down there at 3.5%, and XBB116 is 14.3% at the time they did this update. Unfortunately, the new one's not going to be until next week. And this note on New Jersey. New Jersey is now going to just do a weekly report. They're not going to do daily 5-day reports anymore. It's going to have a weekly summary, I believe, that happens on Mondays. But looking here, it looks like some of this did update. So, new confirmed cases, 115. New probable cases, 125. Lab confirmed deaths, 2. Hospital reported deaths, 2. Then we come over here to the hospital number 162. 10 people on a ventilator. And in the ICU, there are 20 people in the ICU. Moving on here to my state, Philadelphia. In my city of Philadelphia, which is in my state of Pennsylvania, we had 678 EMS calls in the last 24 hours from yesterday. These are yesterday's numbers. So that's good. It's below 700 again. Yes, that may seem very busy to you, but we often get, since this pandemic started, get a lot of days that are over 700, sometimes even over 800. Moving on to New York State, 477 new cases in the last 24 hours. Positivity remained at 2.5%. 7-day average is now up to 2.1%. So that positivity is remaining elevated. We'll have to see what happens on Monday, as that will be the next update from New York State. Taking a look at hospitalizations, here's New York City. 196 people in the hospital, 25 people in the ICU. Then when we advance this to all regions, I have to zoom it back in. We advance it to all regions. It's 547 people hospitalized, 63 people in the ICU. So this week, overall, has been, for the most part, not dropping anymore, but staying flat. So moving on now to some international data. When we take a look at the international levels, we can see here they are still dropping, but look at this. Just only 22% now. That was 30 to 40% not long ago. And there's a reason for that, and this is for cases. Deaths are still dropping, and that's continuing. Some countries are just not reporting their deaths anymore, or maybe they're legitimately down. But when we look at cases, there's a lot more plus signs starting to show up here, like this one right here, Israel. We'll get to that in a moment. South Korea, cases are up 14%, deaths are down 3%. Australia, as stated, it's entering winter there now. Cases are up 16%, deaths are down 25%. Brazil, cases up 2%, deaths down 25%. France, cases up 12%, deaths down 12%. And the United States, it does say 53% drop. There's a reason for that. When you have a lot of states that don't report any data whatsoever from the previous week, it's making that drop bigger than what it actually is. We don't know what the actual cases are in the United States. That's why we use wastewater to help us out. Canada, cases up 35%, and deaths are up 25%. Greece, cases now rising, up 27%, deaths down 34%. Philippines, cases still up 11%, and deaths are down 100%. They didn't report any deaths this week. Vietnam, cases are down 25%, deaths are down 80%. Malaysia, cases up 13%, and deaths are 18 versus 8 the previous week. Then we come down here. There's one I do want to show you, and that is Israel. Look at this. Israel cases are now up 182%, and they reported 9 deaths versus 0 the previous week. Who remembers when Israel was the gifted child of the media, where the media was saying, look how well Israel is doing, blah, 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 blah. Can't say that at the moment. Israel's doing really bad. Finally, let's look at Thailand here. Up 39% on cases, up 120% on deaths, 22 versus 10. Remember, they have that new variant, FU.1 there, so that may play into the picture. Remember, a very small number of cases are actually sequenced in the data. Alrighty, that does it for today's pandemic update. We'll have another pandemic update again tomorrow. But until I see you again next time, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel down below. I will see you all again next time. But until I see you again next time, test negative, and stay safe, everyone.